Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Tuesday night in the spotlight. Tonight, I have joining me Seva-Ram Spronk, who is a KRI-certified, compassionate, and dedicated Kundalini Yoga and meditation teacher, a life coach practitioner with the CCF, who strives to uplift those around her. Prior to finding Kundalini Yoga, Seva-Ram worked as a personal trainer and kinesiologist with clients with special considerations. After the birth of her son, she battled intense and long depression and anxiety. Following her first class of Kundalini Yoga, she experienced immediate improvements in her symptoms and began her recovery. Since then, she has dedicated herself to bringing the tools of yogic technology to those who need them. She truly believes that it's everyone's birthright to be happy and healthy no matter what. When not engaging in yoga-related activities, she enjoys sewing, crocheting, gardening, and spending time with her human and canine family. So thank you so much, Seva-Ram, for joining me tonight. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm in awe at everything that you've been offering to your followers, to your viewers. These weekly talks that you have are just absolutely amazing. I watched today, um, several of them just to sort of be ready for today.
Yep.
Amazing, the kind of service that you are offering. It's fantastic, and thank you so much for having me on. I feel honored.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and for kind of watching what some of these people have brought forward. It's really been such an incredible journey to get to know people and see what is offered in this world. So can you tell me a little bit more about what is Kundalini Yoga?
All right. Well, Kundalini Yoga is not something that a Western person would think immediately when they hear yoga, because, here we've sort of learned to perceive yoga as like gymnastics little sister, right? Or, something akin to what they show in the circus. However, what yoga is union between the finite and infinite, right? So finite ourselves, our human, meat suit, all that sort of stuff, and the infinite soul, the soul that goes on and lives on forever, and it's part of God. So in Kundalini Yoga, we honor all of that. It's not just about the body, it's cultivating that connection of the body, the soul, and the prana, which is the life force energy, which we get from the sun and from the air and also from food. So we do practices called pranayama, which are breathing techniques. We do something called kriya, which is a physical practice, which sometimes can be similar to like traditional yoga, but most of the time they're actually fairly repetitive movements that we do in concert with the breath. And then we have the relaxation, which is the most important part of the practice. And after that, we have meditation. And there's chanting meditations, there's breathing meditations, movement meditations. So it's not necessarily sitting quietly and, trying not to think. So it's
Yes.
quite a different sort of paradigm.
Beautiful. And so I understand the benefits of yoga and all of that, but why might someone choose the Kundalini Yoga?
Okay, so somebody said it was actually the man that brought Kundalini Yoga to the West from India in the 60s, that 1 year of Kundalini Yoga will give you what Hatha Yoga will give you in 7 years. So we work on energy system very directly. We don't work
Mm.
on the mind by the mastery of the body. We work at everything together. And the tools that we use are not only physical, but also the energetic. And, mantras and similar tools, they add another layer to all of that. So it's not uncommon to reach Kundalini rising within 2 years. But if you are very, fairly dedicated Kundalini yoga practitioner, it's absolutely safe. You don't have to worry about any of the, you know, symptoms that some people experience with their Kundalini rising. So that's awesome. Awesome.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome. And I know in your bio, you had mentioned that it was actually the practice of the Kundalini that helped you to shift from a place of depression and anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah. So after, well, my whole, childhood upbringing has been fairly traumatic, had been very traumatic. And so that continued throughout my youth and my early adulthood, and it culminated in a 5-year long postpartum depression, which was just, awful. Anybody who's been through it knows how bad that can be. And it's heartbreaking, when I talk to my kid now, who's 11 now, what are some of his early memories, he says things like, he always mentions, well, I really remember how you used to yell at me all the time, because that's all I had. I didn't have anything, and I could communicate in only one way, in the way that I knew from my childhood, right?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't, conscious enough. I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know that I was doing it. And and Kundalini Yoga started shifting all that, how it brings you to be your own witness, to develop that kind of awareness, and the fact that you develop this ability to act, not react. So you don't go with your instinct, with your, with whatever is hardwired into you from your upbringing. Because you connect to your soul, you act from your higher self, your soul, much, much easier. You don't have to look for it. It's there, available.
Beautiful. I love that sharing. And just knowing for myself, to know someone who has gone through such an incredible experience but come out on the other side of it, to be able to talk about it, because it's something that so many women experience after childbirth. And especially carrying around those traumatic memories and stuff from childhood, and then stepping right back into those patterns as we start our own parenthood journey. So I love that you're able to actually talk about that with your child, and even with us here tonight, because it's so relatable, I think, for so many.
Yeah, definitely. And
so now sorry,
no.
go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to add, when that beautiful brand new soul, like, as long as he could say those words, he was like, when I started Kundalini Yoga, he was 4 or 5, something like that, and he would say things to me like, Mommy, not to be mean, but you really need to go to your practice. And it's just, that is just something that just like broke my heart, because I'm like, oh my gosh,
Okay.
like completely conscious and completely aware of what's going on here. And at that point, I was still blind to it, but he saw it. And kids, we need to, really take a closer look at our parenting, because those kids are like, they see everything.
They see everything, and I don't think we give them as much credit as what they deserve, because when I started laughing there, I'm like, yeah, he's a truth giver, because I've got my youngest, he is a truth bringer for us in all of our parenting ways, and he kind of goes, well, maybe you could try this, and I'm going, yeah, you're right. So yeah, they are our teachers. You're absolutely right.
Happy birthday, Auden. It was just his birthday, right?
Yes, it was just his birthday about 2 weeks ago. So yes.
Yeah, he does. I see sometimes, some updates, and he really being like an amazing kid. Hey, we've had some comments. Angie,
yes, Angie's the same. Children are our teachers. Absolutely, they are.
Exactly.
Now, because I know you do the coaching as well. So how do you bring the coaching into the Kundalini Yoga and with the meditation?
Well, okay. Well, okay. So Kundalini Yoga is not everybody's cup of tea. And I really, truly realize that, right? But we are all humans. I work predominantly with women because I am a woman. I am familiar with a woman's experience. However, we're all humans. So Certain teachings that we get with the yoga are applicable to people who are really not into this spiritual, yoga and meditation and all that sort of stuff. However, stuff like meditation and breathing, which is in itself just an incredible thing, can benefit any human because everybody's equipped with the same, breathing apparatus, and it works very similarly on everybody's brain and body, right? So, we do, for example, when we struggle sometimes with difficult things in our coaching, like, for example, issues from childhood come up, which are necessary sometimes to dig them up and go over the stories and examine what we have created for ourselves as a result of that story. Those beliefs that we carry with us throughout the whole life, those are not easy to access, and those are not easy to deal with. And what do you do when it's all like in your face and it blows up, right? That's when stuff like tools like breathing and meditation can come in very handy, because like when I was struggling with my postpartum depression, and then my husband and I also were going to couples therapy at the same time. It would be like we're like in the heat of the discussion, and we're like talking about all of those heartbreaking things, and the timer goes ding. Okay, see you in a week. And what then, right? And you are leaving, and you're like this like gaping wound of raw emotions, and you have like nothing to do with that, right? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is not something that I do in my coaching. That is why I use tools such as breathing techniques, for example.
Awesome. Now, how does the breathing help to shift what's happening in the body in regards to the emotions?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is something I could talk about for days. Let me just take a breath.
Okay, absolutely.
So breathing is the only system in our body that we have conscious control and unconscious control. Well, the unconscious we obviously don't control, right? But you can hold your breath only for so long, and then you're gonna pass out because the unconscious is gonna take over, right?
Yeah.
Have your kids ever pulled that on you? I'm gonna
I have
hold.
not, thank gosh.
Yeah, I know. Neither here, but I've heard stories. So because we have like types of nerve, two types of innervation that supplies this particular system of our body. It's not for nothing. Like, nature is very, how do you call it, what word am I missing here? Nature is very efficient. There you go. There's no duplication unless it's absolutely needed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why the double innervation? Because we are meant to be using it to
Mm.
change our thoughts and our emotions, right? So for example, by altering our breathing, we can basically, what happens is we change the concentration of different gases in our blood, and that in return alters our sensations, our thoughts, our energy level.
Wow.
So even like something like, for example, you inhale and hold your breath, your blood pressure is going to go up. It's actually possible to give yourself a stroke if you have a very weak cardiovascular system. Don't,
Wow.
don't try that at home.
I was just trying it until you said that, and then I was like, okay, breathe out.
But when you, for example, hold the breath out, when you don't have any air in your system, your blood pressure will actually go down. Then there are different sort of patterns of breathing in and out and holding the breath that also produces different kind of effects in the body and in the mind.
Okay.
So
So if you were dealing with someone who had, say, a lot of emotional releasing and stuff, what would be the guidance that you're giving them with their breath to help kind of bring the body back to a state of balance?
well, state of balance, it's just breathing in and out through both of the nostrils. Another very balancing thing are, for example, mudras, which are the hand position. So when you
Yeah.
bring both of your hands together, that in itself is balancing.
Yeah.
Can you really do that and apply some nice pressure between the palms? Let's say something like 3 to 10 pounds, and you start breathing. Like, that is not even possible to feel anything but balanced, right? So just
Yeah.
gently, talking and making sure that you feel safe in your body and you're here and now, and this
Yeah.
is what you're dealing with. Another technique is, I was actually today I was asking some of the people on my page whether they want me to address questions and stuff like that. So somebody suggested, I overthink a lot. What should I do?
Mm.
So it's the same solution that I would give somebody who's like getting caught up in their emotions. It's left nostril breathing. So you cover your right nostril with your thumb like this, or whichever way you want, and just inhale and exhale through the left nostril only, deeply and fully into your stomach, middle of the rib cage, all the way up to the collarbones if you can, and exhaling through that left nostril, same way, from the top, middle of the rib cage, stomach, navel comes in just slightly to let all the air out.
Wow. It's
So
like a magic trick that you're doing on your own body.
yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. The centering one with the hands put together like this and the breathing in and out through the nose, I have been doing probably since COVID began without even realizing that that's what I was doing. And I
Yeah,
kept saying, I don't know why I keep doing this, but that actually makes a lot more sense now. But that's a huge one.
yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, the left nostril breathing is such a fantastic tool. That was like one of my first tools when I used to have like big anxiety attacks, like when that was like pretty shortly after I started learning Kundalini Yoga, but I still wasn't quite, in the
Yeah.
in the mind frame. So that was just, and so now when I'm noticing that I'm getting anxious about something, all I have to do is just 3 breaths and it's gone, because breathing, like everything else, it's a practice.
Absolutely. And I think just being able to be mindful of, oh, there's something actually happening here. Now I can shift to this, or now I can shift to this to
Yeah,
help bring myself back to balance is key.
love it, absolutely.
Awesome. So then with your coaching clients, what is the main focus that you're working on with the coaching clients?
Well, when I first started doing this, how like things sort of like start happening and they're like, this is not exactly what I envisioned, but I'm just gonna go with it. So when I first started working as a coach was to help women through blocks, through blockages. They want to like shift to that higher level, or they feel stuck in the situation. But all of a sudden now I'm working with women who go through transitions. So I'm
Mm,
actually working with clientele who's a little bit older. They're like very often around the retirement age, and they're making a huge transition to retiring. They're like, okay, no job, all this time on my hands, and I spent this whole entire time taking care of other people, focusing on the job, focusing on this, that. All of a sudden they're like empty nesters, and or past after that, or maybe even, oh my gosh, getting into brand new relationships. And how do I do
mm.
that? Because I raised my kids as a single mother for 25 years, and now I'm supposed to live with a man. I love him, but I have no idea how to do that. So issues like that.
Absolutely. Very cool. And do you then incorporate the meditation? Like, are you teaching your clients one-on-one with the meditation and the breath work and stuff to help with those transitions?
If they are interested and open to it, definitely. But people who are drawn to me,
Awesome.
they are people who are very open-minded and spiritual. So I don't particularly have to convince them to try meditation, try this, try that, right?
Yeah. which I think is always helpful when people are more open to the
Yeah,
suggestions that you have to give them, because this is your toolbox, right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very cool. And then do you work individually with people or do you do more of group work?
I work generally, okay, in my coaching capacity, it's one-on-one, and with the Kundalini Yoga, it's been classes. Of course, that is not happening now, so I do hold some Zoom classes, but what I'm actually cooking right now is an online program which will be a combination of a pre-recorded and live on Zoom classes and sort of like live chats about how we can bring those teachings into our lives to really truly benefit us, so that way we can be, you know, like a great sturdy ship in the ocean that has the steering and has the engine, and we are going where we want to go, rather than this, you know, poor little boat that's just tossed around by waves. Because
Mm.
let's face it, a lot of people have been sort of experiencing these times of COVID like that poor boat that just getting, you know, smacked around by waves, and like, I don't know what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah. Awesome. And when is that event going to be happening?
Well, that will be actually an ongoing monthly program. So
Okay.
I'm hoping to roll it out by the end of October. So if anybody who is watching is interested, please hit me up on Facebook. I'm really easy to get in touch with. So either send me a personal message and leave me your email if you're interested with that, or simply make a comment underneath this video. I'd be delighted to get to know you.
Awesome. And I will get her contact information put into the comment sections as well once the video is done. So you guys will be able to contact her with any questions that you might have or to join that program. Um, and I'd love to talk a little bit more about this kind of steering your own ship and being the engine and all of that, because I think it's something that's so needed, especially right now with the way COVID has been experienced by so many, because life is happening to people regardless as to what their plans were. So can we chat a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. Um, you know, there's just so many different ways that we can look at it. Like, to me, what it seems like, it's that these times of how we are behaving right now is just sort of an extension of how we were conditioned in our childhood to behave. So you will have a lot of
Yeah.
those people who are like, you know, just sort of stuck, not knowing what to do. You know, there's like, for example, myself, when COVID hit, I was like, oh my god, people need my help. So I'm like, I was doing, like, the whole time I was doing those like free meditations and this and that, and every day at 7:30, and come, and, you know, let's do this for like months and months and months. And then I really burned out, and I'm like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
experiencing these burnouts. Where do they come from? So then it really took me a while to just sort of go in and realize, aha, we are in a trauma response right now, right? We are
Yeah.
dealing with this because this is a trauma. So we are dealing with what our sort of wired trauma response is. So for example, my trauma response is to go and fix everything, right? There are people who are like, I don't know what to do. There are people who are like, you know, completely sort of shutting down and or denying that there's anything happening, right? But
Yeah.
you know, with my practice especially, and amazing because you know, these are also the times where so many people are going into those modes of like self-soothing. You know, I did put on the COVID-15, like so many of us did. However, my
Yeah.
husband and I have quit drinking because we have decided that this is just going too far. So like, where do you draw the line, right? Like, where do you open your eyes and sort of decide like, okay, we have something to say in this situation, right? So sticking with my practice has really sort of allowed me to get grounded, and just notice what is really happening and be present in all of this. And rather than trying to dull the emotions down, notice for what they are, why they're coming up, what's when that happened before, and sort of what can I do with it now,
Yeah.
so that way we can move on as community, as a family, as maybe a bigger scope, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's something that many of us overlooked right at the beginning when COVID happened, was that we were all stepping into a trauma response. And it took me a while to register myself like, oh, this is a traumatic event that is actually happening right now. And I could see it for my kids, just from them missing out on, their football and their school and their friends and all of that. So I could see those responses in them and react accordingly. But then it kind of bypassed my own head that, oh, this is traumatic for me as well. And it wasn't until like an emotional crash that I was like, oh, this is affecting all of us. And it's so important for all of us to be mindful of everyone is in a trauma response right now, and we're going up and down with it, but we're all in this trauma response. So just being extra kind to people, I think.
Yeah. And I know you, Catherine, and a lot of your viewers are people who are spiritual, and they are, they do pick up the vibes, right? Even people who don't know they can pick up the vibes, they still pick up the vibes, right? So we have our antennas that are like plugged into the universe and picking all of those fears up and all that like ugliness that is happening, and we can't help but react to that, right? Feel some of it, like we take it as if it's ours. So maybe at this point I should mention another cool thing about Kundalini Yoga is that we really learn how to work with our electromagnetic field, which is the aura. And aura is a layer of protection that you have for yourself. So that's sort of, it's not necessarily this like shield that some people like to imagine, that it nothing like it's true. It's sort of like a sieve, and you get to say what gets through depending on what sort of frequency you're tuning in, right? So we also work a lot with this stuff, and it's just so simple. Basically, okay, I tell you right now because you really want to know.
Okay.
So what, for example, builds your aura are large body movements. That's it.
Okay.
So if you are feeling that, you're like, you read, let's say, like Trump went to the hospital and everybody was like, yay! But like people who are tuned in, they were noticing this like, I don't know, this really sludgy, sticky energy, right? That's all you need to do, like get up and maybe like wave your arms around, or do some like jumping jacks, or better yet, dance.
That's my go-to. Yep.
Amazing, because that's really lifts your vibration up and it builds your aura, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't actually realize that it builds your aura, but it makes total sense that it does.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And yeah, talking about these are antennae, because I think for a lot of people, they started to get fried. There's been so much information this year and so many different opinions on different faucets. I know for myself, I've stepped a lot away from social media because it's too much.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to back off and connect within because that's the only social media that I need. So what do you suggest for people beyond doing the big movements and stuff? Is there ways that they can protect themselves and their energy feelers just as they're going about their day? Like if they're in the grocery store or something and there's a massive panic on toilet paper, I mean, you could.
Just enforcing the 2-meter rule, okay? Well, there is a mantra which is really, really effective. It's not that complicated, although when you are not used to mantras, then at first it's gonna be like, but I can post something about it or teach it to people. Maybe I should make a separate video on my page or something like that. So
Yeah.
So I'm very open to it. Maybe I should like quickly say it's called Mangala Charan mantra. Some people refer to it as Ad Gure Name. So it goes like this: Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siri Guru Deva Name. So usually chanted 3 times, and it's a really sort of mantra for protection and projection. So projection means that you like project your electromagnetic field, how other people see you. So you're like, you're not gonna get bumped into in a store or something like that because you have your projection.
Mm.
That
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think if you wanted to do a video on that on your own personal page, and then I can always share it over to my page for the viewers that haven't hopped over to your page yet. So, because I think that would be something that a lot of people could really benefit from right now. And just for those who may not know what a mantra is, would you be able to explain a little bit about a mantra and why we might use them?
So how in the Western thinking we sort of think of mantra is a phrase that you repeat. So in English we have some mantras too, right? So you can even make up your own to serve you as an affirmation, like I am awesome and wealth comes to me easily, right? Or this too shall pass. Very powerful mantra, beautiful mantra. Oh my gosh. But what mantra is, in addition to that, is actually it's a sacred sound vibration. Sound is a vibration, right? Sacred, well, because it actually has, when the languages were formed, they were formed from certain sort of sound particles, and a lot of like mantras, like for example amen, right? That's also a mantra. Even abracadabra is a mantra. Those were created from those like sound particles that originated in languages first. And there's actually a whole science to mantra, which is absolutely incredible. So not a lot of people realize, traditional Chinese medicine people do, that we have a lot of meridians in our mind, in our mouth.
Okay.
And as we speak, the tongue and the lips stimulate these meridian points. And those meridian points, they correspond to certain places in the brain. So certain combinations produce certain neurotransmitters to release, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So for example, like in Kundalini Yoga, we use mantras, what's called prescriptively,
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, you want mantra for prosperity? Yeah, hard. You want mantra for you want mantra for protection, it's this. You want mantra for healing, it's this. Because how those sounds work in your mouth and what they stimulate in their brain, they stimulate those states.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had absolutely no idea. That is so, I'm like, I need to research more into that. I think that's so fantastic because, yeah. Okay. Sorry. My mind's a little bit like,
I know, right? It's like a rabbit hole now. It's like, oh my God. And you know what? It's like the most exciting thing for me when there's like research from Western science coming out that is confirming on all that stuff. It's like, yes.
yeah. Yeah. Because it's amazing that there was people hundreds of years ago who
Thousands.
knew, yeah, the thousands, yes, who knew this. And then somehow along the way, we start to question its validity and stuff. But it makes total sense when you say it to me that this is what would be happening because different words do actually feel different,
Right?
emotionally as you're saying them. It's, yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that is actually very cool, you know how there's the 5 elements, right, that we like recognize. So that there's the earth, fire, water, air, and ether, right? Ether is not really an element, but you know, whatever, space, that's space.
Yeah.
And but also depending where, how you place your tongue in your mouth, it also stimulates those elements.
Okay.
So for example, you know, when you are feeling like floaty, like how I was feeling today, I was feeling like, you know, this, I mentioned the Mars being so close, it's really messing with me today. So to, for example, to ground yourself, you have to press your tongue directly down onto the floor of your mouth. It's a really weird feeling, but like within a few moments, you're gonna feel like so grounded, like you are literally Mother Earth.
Yeah, I can actually feel my energies just kind of
Right?
grounding down. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like another one, when you feel sort of stuck or like you're confined, emotionally or physically, you can press your tip of your tongue in front of your front teeth, between your front teeth and your lip, like that. And that actually stimulates ether, the space, to give
Okay.
you a bit more room to sort of, you know, see where you even are, and that you can notice that you have room to actually act.
Interesting. That would be a good one then for people who are trying to manifest new beginnings and stuff, is to
Yeah.
do that while they're visualizing.
Get out of the stuckness, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. You've got me doing all sorts of wacky things with my face tonight, but I'm like learning so much that I've never even heard of before.
Yeah. So there's more. I was really hoping that people would maybe type in some questions or some sort of issues that they have, so I can suggest something to a breathing practice to that they could do. So if you're live, oh, my phone is here, I'm like, if you're live and you sort of, there's something bugging you, let me know. Maybe I can suggest a breathing technique for you, like right now, so we can start practicing. Because there's another thing, right? Like the whole, I don't feel like it right now, but I really need it. And then it's like 2 weeks later, oh yeah, I was gonna start doing a meditation practice or a breathing practice, right? And
Yeah.
then like 3 years later, you're still like, oh yeah.
So is there one for procrastination, just since you're bringing that up?
Ooh, well, then the opposite of the left nostril breathing, that would be right nostril breathing. Right nostril breathing is it connects you to your left brain hemisphere. So it's the linear and very focused thinking, action oriented. It also connects you with the sun energy. So not necessarily good to do in the evening time because it will actually perk you up. But like I
Okay.
said, it's the opposite of the left nostril breathing. So the right nostril breathing. So you cover the left nostril and just breathe through the right, in and out through the right nostril.
Okay. I'll try that tomorrow morning then.
Yeah.
We've got some people commenting. So Angie is saying, what about for letting go?
Ooh. Okay, letting go of what though? Angie? Angie, letting go of what? No
Can you,
pressure,
there's
Angie.
always like a 15-second delay. So we'll give her a few seconds to reply back with what it is she's wanting to let go of. And then we also have Doris saying about energy. So would that be that same idea with the procrastination one, just to amp up the energy?
Right nostril breathing will also bring you more energy.
Okay.
You can start with as little as 5 minutes. 3 minutes, I'm sorry, 3 minutes. You should be able to feel the effects in your body. And when you breathe, just make sure you breathe into your stomach. So if you want to put your hands on your stomach, you should notice that your hands, you know, come apart a little bit. And
Okay.
then middle of the rib cage all the way up. And to exhale, it's the opposite. So, you know, a lot of people breathe with the chest and they actually pull the stomach in as they inhale. So that is not natural way to breathe. We actually breathe like that when we are stressed out.
Yeah.
So, like when you go to the doctor says, inhale, go like, or, the beach is that way, right? And that is actually a stress response.
Yeah.
So it's essential to train yourself out of that and breathe into your belly gently and sort of expand this way, exhale this way.
Awesome.
Hope that helps.
So Angie has replied, it's about letting go of fear.
Ooh, okay. You know what, Angie? I'm gonna make a note here, and you know what? Doing anything that's like balancing, so actually breathing in with both of the nostrils in and out, that would help. But fear is such a complex emotion. But it also feels the same way as excitement. Sometimes we're excited, but we think we're scared. So I I'd love to, if you're open to it, I'd love to look into that for you, Angie, with you. I offer 45-minute free sort of session to like give you more sort of room around where you are, so you can just sort of get some clarity. It's absolutely no strings attached. So please let me know. We'll schedule something, okay? I'd love to get into, give you some room around that fear issue, and then we'll figure something out for you in terms of the breathing. All right?
Perfect.
Okay.
And then Karen is saying, what about controlling emotions? Basically not crying.
Gotcha. So what's really good for that one is actually the left nostril too.
Okay.
Either left nostril, or you know what? This is actually gonna sound funny. This is the one that a lot of people do already. It's actually whistling.
Okay.
Whistling, even if you cannot whistle physically, like you can produce the sound, even inhaling and exhaling through pursed lips, so rounded lips. That movement in itself, it actually stimulates the vagus nerve, which is the nerve that is associated with the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one that's responsible for relaxation. So you cry obviously because you're sad or you're stressed or something touches you. That means that your body is not in rest. That means that you're feeling, you're triggered in a sympathetic mode, right? So by triggering parasympathetic mode, we can get that balanced out. So inhaling and inhaling, or just whistling. That's why people whistle. People sort of whistle and then they feel good, right? Like, have you noticed that? Have you seen like anybody who's pissed off, like whistling out of anger? They could be angry when they first start whistling, but then they're relaxed, right? Generally, people get relaxed when they whistle.
Mm-hmm.
Or they smoke.
Yeah.
Right? Same kind of thing. Breathing in through pursed lips. That's what smoking is.
Yeah.
The very motion triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. That's why it's so difficult to quit for a lot of people, right?
Interesting. So if people were to take up whistling, they might be able to quit smoking.
Pick up whistling.
You might have just found the cure. It's interesting because for myself, when I'm feeling very angry, singing tends to be my thing to help me get that out. But I do remember both of my grandparents whistling virtually all of the time. So,
and when did it become such a, don't whistle, it's disrespectful? Like it's healing. Whistling is actually healing, right?
yeah, I never actually thought of that before. I love the connection of sound and breathing and how healing it is, because these are things that you don't teach a child to start singing. They just start to sing. Do you know what I mean? And it's amazing how we have these innate abilities that we're just born with. And even the dancing, you don't teach a child to dance. They just dance. So it's really about, I guess, getting back to those very simple aspects of being human.
Totally. Like we were born with all of these amazing, ways to cope, right?
Yeah.
Like we were born, like, you ask any child who you want to be in the future, they will say, I'm going to go to the stars, and I'm also going to be a princess and a horse doctor, right? Nobody says, like, no kid says, like, well, I don't know, whoever gives me the best benefits, right? This is something that we like learn, that our parents put on us, the school, and this all craziness, like
Yeah.
all of a sudden we become these like doing beings rather than beings.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now, is that something that you also help people shift their mindset on when you're working with them, is getting back into that kind of inner child healing?
Totally, absolutely. And you know what? It's actually so easy to do sometimes, because sometimes all you need to do is like isolate that one incident and examine what happened and what thoughts were formed.
Yeah.
And you can let go of it just like that. It's actually not like pulling teeth or anything like that. Uh, Doris has commented, just sitting here, my stomach is moving, and that is the way I do it all the time. So I guess, I mean, I am doing it right. Yay, Doris! I'm gonna like, oh, I'm gonna like, oops. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Why doesn't it? Oh, there. Okay. I love Doris's comment. Awesome. That is technology. Oh my gosh. Like, I can't get over it. Like, how old are you, Catherine, if you don't mind me asking?
How am I? Or how
How
old am I?
how old are you?
I'm 37.
37. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 45, and I was born in like communist Poland. So, like something like this, like that was not even conceivable.
Yeah.
It's like and every day I'm like, this is so cool. Anyways.
I totally agree. 100% agree. I was born in 83. So I was like 12, 13 years old when technology really started to advance, and our schools got the internet, and we started learning how to use the internet, how to send an email, and all of this. And it's amazing now how we're also like my 8-year-old, he can do all of this stuff and sometimes teaches me how to do some of this stuff. So it's amazing. It really is.
I have this theory that our kids, like their brains are gonna be wired totally differently than ours.
Yeah, I would agree, because this stuff to them, it
Yeah.
comes like this.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where that kind of plays out in 20 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm hoping that my child will gift me with a grandchild. No pressure or anything.
So what about breathing for worry about the future?
Well, in the left nostril breathing and whistling is generally relaxing.
Oh,
So there's definitely different sort of meditations to which there's like, different techniques need to be applied. So, for example, the breathing might be segmented, or there might be a mantra that you repeat either out loud or in your head as you do this, and that might be combined with mudra. But there are meditations that are directed at this kind of stuff.
okay. Now, do you create your own meditations and have like a YouTube channel with your meditations, or?
Okay, so in Kundalini Yoga, we do not create our own meditations. We
Okay.
do the meditations that have been passed on
Mm.
um, from the masters that came before. Uh, so, because you might remember me saying at the beginning that it's a fairly potent technique, and so if you use it not in a way that it was taught, then you might encounter some issues. But I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Seva-Ram I don't remember whether it was Seva-Ram Spronk das Kundalini or Seva-Ram das Kundalini. I think it's Seva-Ram Spronk das Kundalini. So
Okay.
that is my channel, and I have about, I don't know, 15 videos there. There will be more coming because that was one of my COVID things that I started during COVID.
Very good. I love hearing how many awesome things people are doing with the whole COVID thing, you know, and we all kind of quote it into like my COVID times and my COVID learning and where I've grown and everything like that. So I think there's a lot of good coming out of it.
Absolutely. You know, our lives are now, not when things start getting, well, things will get to back to normal. Like you hear that all the time, and it's kind of like, no, tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
We're not given tomorrow. We only have now.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you want to create with the now that you have?
Exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful, Seva-Ram. I apologize. And thank you so much for joining us and for sharing some little tidbits with everybody on how they can help with their emotions and their energy and all of that. I know I've learned so much, and I'm totally looking into the meridians of the mouth. Because that really just, I was like really inspired by that. And thank you to everybody who joined us tonight for our conversation with Seva-Ram. Next week, we have Dr. Russell Kennedy joining us, and he's the anxiety doctor who's coming out with a book that is now available on Kindle and stuff, but it will be available in paperback and hardcover next week. So I'm excited to have him on and chat. And as one last little event promotion thing that I'm going to do, Janice Moffat and myself are going to be hosting a Raise the Light Global Meditation on Friday night at 9 p.m. on Zoom. Those details are in the Journey Healers events. So anybody who may want to join us on that, feel free to join us on that just to raise the light during these trying times. Thank you so much, Seva-Ram.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It's been amazing. And to all of you who are watching, and to all of you who have felt that it was valuable to you, please reach out to me. I love sharing this stuff with everybody. And if I can help in any way, that is why I'm here. That is my mission in life. So thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.